Today, the whole world is at the verge of disaster, greatest disaster almost near Third World War. America and its vile ally, Israel, they have launched a unprovoked war against Iran. The Iran, which has got civilization of almost 8 to 9,000 years. And once upon a time, these Jews who claim to be the owner of the Palestine are not really owner of that land. Today, 80% Jews who are residing in Israel are Ashkenazi. They came up in the 10th century from America, from France, from Germany, and their language is also different from Hebrew. And they are migrated, and they were forced to migrate to the Holy Land of Palestine, evicting their own inhabitants from them and claiming that land as of theirs. The main Jews, the actual Jews, who talks Hebrew and have Hebrew ancestry, are only 10 to 20%, and they stay in Philistine, also all over the world, and they are much more polished. And these Jews, they are so vile that they, once upon a time, they went to Spain at the golden era of the Muslims, 1100 years BC. 1100 years, 1100 years, they went there. And they could talk both Arabic, English, and other languages and get involved in business. They provoked the Spanish people to eradicate Muslims, and the Christians, in the name of crusade, killed most of the Muslims, or converted them, or forced them either to be converted or get out of the land. That was a great genocide, which has got no impunity. It is not discussed much. And today, they are repeating the same thing and dreaming to make a land of the Jews from Nile to Euphrates. They have forgotten that during the time of Hammurabi, Abraham, nearly 7,000 years BC, when Abraham migrated from Iraq or Mesopotamia to Philistine and next to Egypt. And at that time, they were their slaves. They have forgotten that thing. Or they have not forgotten that thing. For that reason, they want to take the revenge. And they want to occupy the whole land. Once upon a time, Mr. Bush and Blair, the greatest liar of England, the vile creature whom I know personally, as because I was working with UN and UNDP and delivered many lectures there from the year 2001. I never could imagine that this gentleman could be so much vile, such a liar. They manufactured one lady who has done post-graduation in microbiology in England, in the UK, as Mrs. Death, and told the whole world that they are making anthrax, involved in bioterrorism, almost making 3 kg anthrax per day or per month, whatever they said, the whole world heard and believed. And about the weapon of mass destruction, as they are saying about Iran, which is absolutely lie. The whole Europe is involved in this crime because they were with them. The nasty people talks big about human rights, human dignity, Geneva Convention, IHL, etc., but who doesn't follow them it? These Nazis, the neo-Nazis, the Jewish neo-Nazis, who has absorbed the crime of the Nazis while they were killed in the Holocaust. Their picture, and they have picture as well as their character has been made in the mind of the whole Europe as sucker. That's why Shakespeare wrote about the Shylock. Shylock didn't come from heaven. Shylock were there. Many Shylocks who sold the intellectual property of the Islamic world. I have myself seen how Ibn Sina, Abu Ali Sina, and others, Arab, they have invented the anatomy of human being long before Gray. Gray did it 200 or 250 years or 300 years ago, but they did it 1100 years before. About the retina, about physics, about projectiles, about the pyramids. Long before the Egyptians, the pyramids were made both in Iran and Turkey. Even recently, the pet dogs, they have been found in Turkey. What does it mean? If you go there and if you see their engravings in the salt caves of the hilly lands, then they would understand how educated they were, how the days were, divided, how the years were divided in 12 months, then a day, month into 30 days or 31 days, and an hour in 60 hours, and a minute in 60 minutes. That is already engraved in Mesopotamia. They were just ingenious people. I am a physician and a scientist and human rights defender. I have seen it, read it, and even many people, even include the Hindus, they don't know where from they have come from. They are actually the chariot riders, the Mittani people. They came through the Ilam to Mohenjo-daro. Many things they didn't know. They were horse riders. They used to take horse. Later, they have come to know about cows in Sindh, in Mohenjo-daro, in Harappa. And when they found that it is their main source of food, then they have restricted, taking quite rationally, to take food of, slaughter those, cows. And in the puja, offering towards the goddess Kali, they do always, sometimes offer goats. So, the most ancient civilizations are being wiped out to showcase of 10 centuries Ashkenazi Jews and 200 years or 250 years or 300 years old Americans, who were mostly came from the Europe and France, and some of them speak France as is in Canada, and some speak English, and they depict the original inhabitants, the Indians, as their, enemy, devils. And it is written. And it is written there in the buffalo that these devils, they have done this thing, that thing, all these things, they are written there. They have written. They have depicted the original inhabitants as devils. And same thing is going on today. Same history is going to repeat. Good sense has come in some, like the Spain. Slave trading was one of the most worst thing in the whole world, subject to trial, reparation. But there is impunity. Nobody talks about those things. I have seen in different museums that they have kept the heroes, bones of the heroes of the Africa, who were culturally and artistically quite superior. That's why their arts are kept in Louvre Museum. Whatever it is, in no way the war initiated by the devilish Jews and who are mostly Ashkenazi, who are mostly come from the Europe, implanted by the Europe to suck the Arab land. And most of the Arabs, kings and all those things, they were the dacoits and slaves, and they have been implanted by the British. Even in Iran, the Shah, he was implanted by throwing out the elected prime minister who, took control of the whole oil. Oil is the main thing. Petroleum is the main thing. Because of petroleum, the Europe, America, they have come to that land. And their pet dog, devils of the devils, the Jews are there. We are not against humanity. So, we don't want the people kill them without trials. They have committed worse crimes and against humanity, genocide, and also genocidal rape. They're killing all the media people there. I do believe in no war, so many, not even Second World War, so many press people were killed. They were killed, targeted. They were victim of targeted killing. It is only because of this so-called civilized Ashkenazi coming from Europe in the after 10th century. Hardly they were here. They evicted the local people, the planters, the peasants from that place. And they have killed them mercilessly. They have broken their everything. Their houses has been wiped out. The hospitals has been targeted one by one. Schools have been targeted. In Iran also their schools have been targeted on the first day. By whom? By the Americans. By the Americans. They have targeted 170 children. The worst crime they have done on the day one. And it's never ending. 91,000 plus civilian targets have been targeted. I don't believe that no war, so much of crime has been done. In Second World War, Japanese, another criminal doing war crimes, genocide and crimes against humanity in the year 1940s, mass raped the Koreans and the Chinese, killed them mercilessly. But there was a trial. Trial as because they were defeated. As because defeated. The Geneva Convention is a good thing a good, I mean, note for trial of war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity. In Nuremberg trial, 1 or 2 were tried. But in Japan, 10 were tried. Of course, in absentia, after their death, reparations were declared. But for Second World War, victims of Second World War, there is no reparations. The Americans who were with the Allied force landing in France, they started raping their women. Their people said, from the Germans, we used to mask ourselves. But after the Americans came in Normandy, we are busy in hiding our girls because there were mass rapes. Even they didn't follow the rules of the war. I am a war veteran. I fought the war of 71 as army officer. We have never killed, or I hated all those who killed unarmed, unarmed enemy, or bayoneted the unarmed pro-Pakistani or allies of Pakistani in the field, which goes against Geneva Convention, the rules of convention, rules of the war, and it is not manly to fight against unarmed, ill, sick, and also the prisoners. Prisoners has got their rights, but that was done. Even in our country, that is right, but in a very small number. We could not try the Pakistani perpetrator who has done 39 counts of crimes against humanity. First 2 months during Operation Searchlight, 69 lakhs. See, Hindus, they took refuge in India, and each family, there were, we have counted from each family, the girls above 10, there are 2,67,000. And most of them were victims of war crimes and especially crimes against rape and also mass rape. And those people and their families who has gone to India, they have never come back because of shame. If so, during calculation of all the people who are missing from their country, there are some gaps. So from the state they say that there are 3 million. But what about the number? May be a myth. May not. But there was gross killing, wiping out Hindus, and they considered Bengalis as inferior class, as they considered the Hindus as inferior class, and also they considered them as more akin to Hindus in their language, in their culture, and during their I mean, in services, only 2% was in the civil service. Only 2. In the military, there are a few. There are many writings from many of the army officers, Brigadier Majumdar and also C.R. Datto, and mostly General Jia, who wrote in one of the daily, and he said how the Pakistanis, they behaved with them. Black bastards. In one message intercepted by Brigadier Majumdar, where it is said, therefore these black bastards cannot rule over us. And the next day, Brigadier Majumdar was taken out from Chittagong, as he was the martial administrator, and he was taken out to Pakistan, and he was jailed and mercilessly tortured and tried, and he was tried. Same happened to Colonel Masood of 2nd East Bengal Regiment in Jaidapur. And M.R. Chaudhary in East Pakistan, he was killed. I am talking about Bangladesh. But there is no trial. Why? Because America was behind Pakistan. Just like today, America is behind Israel. There won't be any trial because America is with them. Criminal of the criminal, the worst criminal of the world. In Iraq, they have killed millions. In Afghanistan, in Syria, in everywhere. In Syria, I have got a video where the general of NATO, one Mr. General Simon, probably from the UK or somewhere, ordered anybody is having beard, just kill them. So today, the Jewish people, the worst Jewish people, who claim as that they are carrying the Semitic blood. I am a anthropologist, forensic anthropologist, and I know that all of them, if you just test them, their DNA, they are not real Jews. They are converted Jews of 10th century. The real Jews, they came from Africa, and long before, almost 90,000 years ago. Almost 90 years ago, from Africa, from the savannah field to the Palestine. And also the Muslims, those who are converted to and those who are converted to Islam, they also came from that place. There are, if you think about or talk about Semitic blood, the Druze, some of the Lebanese, some of the Palestinians, they do also carry the Semitic blood. So, selling Semitism is a crime. It is a crime. Whether you are human being or not human being, that is the thing. Our heart is for all the victims of the Holocaust. But you, subhuman being, absorbed all the crimes of the Nazis. Worst of the worst Nazis are you are. I don't want that anybody should kill you without trial. But it may happen. I don't want it. Thank you.